What's up, y'all? Welcome to Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast presented by Old City Sports Network. It's your boy Michael Roscoe, and what a first week of camp it's been. We've got a lot to talk about tonight between some injuries, who's been taking reps where, and how the new offense and defense has been looking. But before all of that, if you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe to the channel, which is just at Second and 15. And also turn on notifications so you don't miss a single moment. Also, don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, as well as all of these pages for the Old City Sports Network. All right, y'all, let's dive into our first segment, which is the NFL news of the week. So starting off, we got some QBs getting paid. Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence, Packers quarterback Jordan Love, and Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa hit it big with massive contract extensions, which are for Trevor Lawrence, 5 years, $275 million, which is around $55 million a year. Then you got Jordan Love with 4 years, $220 million, also around $55 million a year. And finally, Tua Tagovailoa with 4 years, $212.4 million, around $53.1 million a year, which is just $0.1 million over Jared Goff. Now I get it. There have been a lot of major contract extensions between Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and more. So these guys want to get paid too, right? I might be a hater or not looking well into it enough, but do people really believe Jordan Love is a $55 million a year quarterback? I certainly don't believe that for Trevor Lawrence. Ranking towards the bottom in total touchdowns per game and having the most turnovers per game compared to 21 other quarterbacks across their whole careers, that's nuts to make Lawrence tied for the highest per year salary player in the NFL. For Tua, if he can just stay healthy, I would say this could be a good move. It sucks that he's gone down with two pretty significant concussions, so I'm hoping he stays healthy. What I'm predicting, though, and this is based solely on a pattern of events that have occurred with quarterbacks after getting paid, these three quarterbacks could either have a down year, get injured, or both. And don't get me wrong, I'm certainly not wishing for anyone to get injured. Don't get it twisted. Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, these guys and more either got injured, had a regression year, or both after their big signings. So we'll see if this trend continues with Lawrence Love and Tagovailoa. All right, next we got some new kickoff rules. The NFL released some info regarding the new kickoff rules, which include onside kicks being illegal before the fourth quarter. Teams must also be losing to kick an onside kick, and teams must declare intention to kick an onside kick to the referees beforehand. Now, to me, this is looking like it favors the losing team in a game to make the game a little bit more interesting. Now, typically, teams that are losing are already more likely to commit an onside kick in a situation which they have a chance to win and are more likely going to happen in the fourth quarter, uh, since the game is almost over anyway. So I don't think it really changes anything besides putting some rules onto paper. I really can't recall a time where a team has kicked an onside kick before the fourth quarter or kicked an onside kick when they were winning. So I can't imagine there's going to be a significant impact in the game following these rule changes, but you never know. So we'll see what happens. All right, y'all. Before I get into the Eagles portions of our news, let me go ahead and bring you some words from our sponsors. So, Second and 15, a Philadelphia Eagles fan podcast, and the Old City Sports Network are brought to you by Righteous Felon Craft Jerky, with some awesome craft flavors as well as being gluten free, low sugar, and American made. Head on over to your local store, or better yet, just go on to righteousfelon.com and use our promo code OCSN, all lowercase, for 15% off of your orders. And any orders over $50 will receive free shipping. We are also brought to you by SeatGeek. Head on over to SeatGeek.com or download the app on your smartphone to get tickets and use promo code Old City Sports Network, all one word and E at the end of old, for $20 off of your purchase. And additionally, if you can't make your event, SeatGeek will credit you towards your next event. And finally, we are presented by Warlord Beard Oil. Head on over to www.warlordbeardoil.com and use our promo code OLDSPORTS in all caps for 15% off your beard oils, washes, soaps, lotions, apparel, tools, and so much more. Orders over $75 will also receive free shipping. And finally, this time, actually, finally, if you love supporting our sponsors as well as those on the show, don't forget to support the ones who bring you these ads and as well as content from Second and 15, Quit Chasing, Flyers Alley, Check the Net, The Living Room Show, and more each and every week. To do that, head on over to oldcitysports.com and check out our merchandise from clothes to camping supplies, glassware, and other swag. Use promo code OLDCITY E at the end of old and in all caps for 15% off of your purchase. All right, y'all. As promised, we're going to go and dive into those Eagles news and discussions. So, starting off, we got some roster moves for the Birds as the Eagles have signed offensive lineman Nick Gates, adding some depth to the offensive line area. Gates previously played for the Giants and I want to say the Commanders too, so he's used to the NFC East. I wonder if this move has to be made due to some various injuries that we've been seeing in the offensive line in camp so far, including Landon Dickerson, Tyler Steen, Trevor Keegan, and Lane Johnson. Now, don't get me wrong, this sounds scary, but I do believe that most of these injuries are already healed up or are very, very minor. But to make room for Gates, the team has released cornerback Mario Goodrich. Next, we got Rashad Penny retiring all of a sudden, following this trend of random players deciding to call it quits before the season has even begun. Former Eagles running back Rashad Penny suddenly retired on Tuesday, 4 days after publicly stating, quote, "When I'm healthy, I'm easily one of the top running backs in the game." Now, that's a bold statement from a guy that I sometimes forgot was on the team last year with how much he was not on the field. Now, granted, some of this was due to things that were out of his hands, but nonetheless, a big statement to make only to retire 4 days later. I had big hopes for him last year, and it didn't lead to anything, but I honestly wish him all the best luck in retirement. And speaking of retirement, is the number 9 jersey unofficially retired for the Eagles? So, in an interview between Elliot Shore Parks of WIP 94 and edge rusher Josh Sweat, he was discussing on how he made the random change to the number 19, basically stating he was, quote, looking for a change. And when asked about the number 19, he said, because it was available. I wanted number 15, but that's been retired since like 1950. And then I wanted 9, but that wasn't available. That's basically retired. I wore number 9 in high school and college. Now, realistically, there's been no confirmation or scheduled like retirement date for the number 9 jersey. I just believe it remains as one of those non-retired, retired jersey numbers, such as number 12 or number 25, numbers that haven't officially been retired but have not been active in a good amount of years. So, we got some training camp injuries to talk about because we've got a full week of training camp underway, with the first day of pads occurring this past Tuesday. We've had a lot of news come in ways regarding injuries, rotations of reps, and more. So, let's dive into all that, starting with the current injuries that we have. So as of this moment, who players who are like actively still injured, we have cornerback, yes, cornerback Cooper DeJean still out with that hamstring tweak injury, whatever you want to call it. He's projected to be out at least 2 more weeks, still on the NFI list. So hopefully we see him back soon. Additionally, we got offensive lineman Tyler Steen with an ankle injury, and he is expected to miss some time. Could be a few days, could be a week or so. It's kind of unsure what the extent of his injury is, other than that, it's just an ankle injury. And then finally, you also have linebacker Oren Burks, who has been dealing with a knee injury and has missed, I think, 4 or 5 straight practices. We've seen a few guys have some cramps or random toe injuries. I don't know why that's the trend this year to start camp, but these don't appear to be too serious. All right. So I got some observations from the first 4 days, and I've been watching a bunch of videos and reading a bunch of tweets and articles and kind of collecting um some observations that I've witnessed and read about regarding the first 4 days of camps before they put on the pads. So, starting with the offense, we got Jalen Hurts on fire, y'all. Jalen Hurts is thriving in the pass game compared to last year. He's got an 85% pass completion rate in practice so far within these first 4 days compared to this exact time last year. Plus, he threw 43 consecutive completed passes before throwing his first incompletion to tight end Grant Calcaterra. Additionally, he's looking more comfortable in both the run and the pass game. One thing that's been mentioned of really high praise was his accuracy. And I know that's something that was struggling last year. Jalen's been placing the ball perfectly for the wide receivers, and it shows, as most of the few incompletions that he's thrown so far were catchable balls dropped by the receivers. Hurts, quote unquote, struggled during the day 4, going 10 for 13 with no touchdowns, but no interceptions either. But on this particular day, the defense was firing on all cylinders, which, is the trending camp. The offense tends to start off really hot, defense slow, and then it just flip flops. Hurts has been looking faster, making good deep passes, including one to Devontae Smith with Avante Maddox in coverage. So I'm really happy to see that that's been going on. He hasn't thrown an interception so far in camp, knock on wood, compared to some interceptions he threw last year in camp. But we'll see how he progresses through the camp. Next on my offensive observations, is Mekhi Becton going to be a starter? Becton has honestly been making a name for himself. With Tyler Steen expected to miss an undetermined amount of time at this moment, and with various missed days between Landon Dickerson and Lane Johnson, Becton has been getting a lot of first team reps at both guard and tackle. So far, based upon the reports about him, I can see why Jeff Stoutland invested in him. He's holding his own, including keeping Jalen Carter off of Jalen Hurts in day 4 during the 11 on 11s. But as we know, we saw that reversed later on. Anyway, especially now with Tyler Steen's injury, he's looking like he could be starting week 1 at the right guard position. But honestly, even if Steen wasn't injured, the way he's been playing in camp so far and the way his play has been described in camp so far, I could see Becton starting over Steen. Are we seeing a comeback storyline playing out with the former first rounder Mekhi Becton? Honestly, only time will tell. Will Shipley for running back 2. Now, you might be thinking we got Kenny Gainwell, but just hear me out, y'all. Will Shipley, he's making it a tough competition for Kenny Gainwell at the running back 2 position. Now, while Gainwell has had some first team reps, the majority of the running back talk outside of Barkley seems to be about the rookie Will Shipley, especially with him taking first team reps the day that Barkley was absent from practice. Don't worry, it was only due to personal reasons. Day 4 was probably one of his best days with back to back catches, including one 20-yard catch out right down the middle between 2 defenders, as well as a sideline catch between 2 defenders again, gaining the most touches for the day in camp. Now, the passes they could be attributed to the rising accuracy of Jalen Hurts this year. But to be able to make himself open and available between multiple defenders, probably like first team defenders too, as well as not letting their pressure get to him and making those catches, he could have easily gotten spooked and dropped them. But Will Shipley, that could be a name to watch out for come week 1. All right, we're going to shift gears to the defensive side of the ball in these first 4 days before the pads came on. So the defense, like I said earlier, they were off to a slow start, but by day 4, they were looking great. Nolan Smith, Bryce Huff, they've been accumulating multiple sacks with Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter getting into the backfield as well. They're starting to pick their game up. But what I want to talk about starting off first is our linebacker ones. So it's looking like it's going to be Zach Bond and Devin White. When it comes to the linebacker core, we've seen Nakobe Dean and Ben Van Sumeren primarily taking snaps with the second team, but occasionally rotating in with the first team. Jeremiah Trotter Jr. has seen some first team reps, but more so taking some with the second and the third team. But what's been consistent is that Bond and White have been taking the majority of first team reps on like a consistent basis, like every single time. I personally had a feeling that Devin White was going to be a starter as soon as he got signed, but Zach Bond has surprised me and he's turned a lot of heads in a good way. Devin White's leadership has also looked to be outstanding. I haven't really seen any negative comments about his play in camp so far. I'm very excited to see what he does with the rest of camp. Moving on to more stuff about the defense, we got the Nolan Smith stock rising. Now, Nolan Smith's stock started off a little slow, but he's been rising after a couple of quiet days. He's reportedly added anywhere from like 7 to 10 pounds of pure muscle this offseason, training in Los Angeles with none other than Aaron Rodgers. Didn't see that coming, to be honest. Smith had multiple sacks throughout training camp so far. He's looking quick, agile, and a lot better than his rookie campaign. He's been getting praise from veterans like Darius Slay, and the coaches have been noticing it too, acknowledging his camp success so far, especially Nick Sirianni. So look out for Nolan Smith to be an emerging edge rusher this year. Next topic for the defense, this cornerback room. Let me tell y'all, this cornerback room is great. There's been a decent amount of rotation at the corner position between Darius Slay, Isaiah Rodgers, Quinyon Mitchell, and Keely Ringo. These guys are looking like they'd be your primary guys at the CB position. Now, personally, I'm leaning towards the idea that it's going to be Slay/Rogers being your CB1 and 2 going into week 1. Although Keely Ringo has had multiple days starting opposite of Darius Slay. So this room has a lot of talent and a lot of competition ahead of them. Rogers has had some great pass breakups. Mitchell's been holding his own with the vets. Ringo has been making improvements from last year. This corner room is making me very optimistic. You throw Cooper DeJean in that mix when he's good to go. Woo, Lord, there is no telling what this new secondary can't do. Next topic on the defense for their first 4 non-padded days. We've had Avante Maddox and James Bradbury taking the majority of their reps at safety with the second team. Now, from what we've seen, it's not so surprising here to me, considering the Eagles originally released Maddox earlier in the year, only to bring him back about a month later, probably on a cheaper deal. And we all know the James Bradbury situation. We've been done known that. Despite having an off start to OTA/camp, he's been making some good moves in camp so far. Nothing too impressive to me, however. I I'm okay with where Maddox and Bradbury are at this current moment. Like, I know these guys were primarily corners, but with how big our corner room is and how small our safety room is, it helps to have some depth guys who can play multiple areas. Now, for your starting players, I'm still sticking to my mentality of having a player focus on one position that they are the best at to be 100% at versus multiple positions to be 50% at. And I hope to hear more about these guys as camp goes on. They're not in the limelight as much as Mitchell, Slay, and company, but we'll see how they do as camp progresses. All right, now I've talked about the days without pads. Now let's talk about the day where the pads came on this past Tuesday. Today, Wednesday, was a walkthrough, so I don't have too much information on that. But starting off, we got some breakfast on Tuesday. We had some pancake blocks with Jalen Carter flattening Makai Becton in 11 on 11. And to put things into perspective, Makai Becton is like 6'7" or 6'8", 364 pounds, and Jalen Carter is tossing him around like a rag doll. Amazing. And we had backup offensive lineman Fred Johnson taking linebacker Zach Bond to the ground, almost creating the first fight of the camp. And I'm glad that the fight didn't happen, but I'm loving the intensity of these guys so far, especially the young and the newer guys who are showing it right off the bat. All right, we got to talk about this matchup, number 11 versus number 30. We have AJ Brown versus Quinyon Mitchell, and this matchup has been a spectacle so far. Mitchell was taking first team reps in the slot and outside corner positions, getting in several good reps against Brown, including some great blanket coverage to the point where it prevented Jalen Hurts from even considering throwing in his direction, as well as excellent field awareness on a play, forcing A.J. Brown out of bounds before he was able to get 2 feet in on a reception. So I'm very excited to see how this matchup continues. Quinyon and AJ have been, bantering, going back and forth. It's all love, of course. We got some stare downs. We got AJ handing him the ball. This is a matchup that I'm excited to see in camp, and I can't wait to see how these guys do against people that they don't like in the regular season. Working heavily on the fundamentals. So the team has been working on fundamentals to correct mistakes from last year. Specifically, the Eagles were seventh in most lost fumbles last year. And that's something we can't have. Wide receivers, tight ends, and running backs were working on intensely with ball security drills. With only one slip up from Devontae Smith, it looked like he got caught up on the machine. It hit him, in the downstairs area, he possibly tripped, but he didn't lose possession of the ball. So that's good. Hopefully, this practice success in maintaining ball security translates to the regular season because honestly, that's where it matters the most. And finally, are we going to see a CJGJ 2022 part two? So Gardner Johnson is starting to look like his 2022 self, getting in good tackles on Saquon Barkley, forcing short yard gains, getting into the backfield to blow up running plays, and just seeming to really bring that energy that the secondaries absolutely needed coming off of last year. Plus, with his Madden rating not being to where Gardner Johnson wants it to be, I wonder if that's going to create some more motivation going into the rest of camp and the season. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing him back in an Eagles jersey. All right, y'all. So that is it for this week's episode. But before I go, I wanted to let y'all know that I am making the trip up to the city of brotherly love for Thursday's open training camp starting at 6:30. I'll be giving away some podcast stickers. They're great for coolers. They're great for your water bottles. You name it. It's a small thing, but I'm working my way up to bigger giveaways. So I'll be giving away some stickers. I have a ton of them to give away. If you're gonna be there and you want one, just DM me on Instagram, or if you see me there, just go ahead and ask me straight up, and I'll be more than happy to give you one if I have any left. I can't wait to see everyone at the open practice. And for those who aren't going to be there, have a great rest of your weekend. Don't forget to stay fly like an eagle. And as always, go birds.